Let's have a conversation. Tell me what you think about the issues of the world. What kind of spice you wanna be? Tell me where you wanna travel. Do you believe in luxury? What's your hidden passion? What makes you so unique? Conversations with Nicole. Conversations with Nicole. Conversations with Nicole. Conversations with Nicole.
Greetings, I am Nicole Everett, the host of Conversations with Nicole, and today we have a very special guest, Attorney Benjamin Crump of Crump Law. Welcome, Attorney Crump.
Hi, how you doing, Nicole?
I'm good.
It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too. Now we go a ways back from college days.
Yeah.
Back when, of course you still are on Omega, but I was on Omega Essence.
Yes, ma'am.
So
and you still look as young as ever.
You are very kind, and you as handsome as ever.
You are kind, Nicole. I'm telling the truth, though.
So listen to
young.
you. So I want, for those of my viewers who don't know you, just tell them a little bit about who you are and what brought you to Tallahassee.
Certainly. I'm Attorney Ben Crump, national trial lawyer for justice. I have 13 offices across the country. We specialize in helping people who need our help the most, who don't have a voice, who are disenfranchised, marginalized, and in many ways being dehumanized. And so whether it's civil rights, environmental injustice, or racism, whether it is these stand your ground laws that we're fighting, whether it's unfair and unsafe workplace. We have many safety issues under this Trump administration since they are relaxing all the regulations. We have regulations to try to protect people, and when they relax those regulations, people get hurt. Mm-hmm. And so we do a lot of that work across the country. A lot of mass torts work is what I'm doing. Obviously, I'm representing about 3,000 people in Flint, Michigan over the water crisis there. I'm also representing about 2,000 women who are suing Johnson & Johnson with the talcum powder lawsuit for ovarian cancer, especially women of color.
Okay.
And we represent a lot of members of the LGBTQ community in regards to Truvada, the HIV drug that we believe had many hazards that could have been avoided by the manufacturer.
Okay. So all very important work, but I still want to know a little bit more about you. So you're from Carolina.
I was born and raised in Lumberton, North Carolina.
So country boy.
Country boy. Just got a big award from Sean Penn and Core out in Los Angeles with every A-list Hollywood person. And I say that because I got the award because of the work that I was doing on behalf of my hometown of Lumberton, North Carolina, after the hurricanes Matthew and Florence completely devastated my little hometown. We sued CSX Corporation, the train company, because FEMA and everybody had opined that the way they excavated the land with their railroad tracks was going to cause flooding to our little hometown. Okay. And it was a theory up until Hurricane Matthew, and then it was fact because it completely decimated the town, that my mother, all her brothers and sisters, all our family legacy was part of that. And then as they are rebuilding 2 years later, Hurricane Florence comes along and they're telling CSX it's going to do the same thing. They want to get on the land to try to re-excavate the land, build a dam. CSX refuses to let them on the land, and then at the 11th hour, the governor of North Carolina enters an executive order to let them try to get on the land and build a sandbag dam, which obviously doesn't hold. And that is the reason for my lawsuit representing my people. And New York Times wrote a lot about the lawsuit. And so Sean Penn and them were just blown away because they did all the disaster relief in Houston and after Katrina in New Orleans and certainly Haiti, but they had never seen a civil rights lawsuit brought in this area of disaster relief because they all acknowledge that people who are affected most, as in every situation, are low-income communities, mostly predominantly communities of color.
Okay. Again, very important work. So you left Lumberton, came to Tallahassee.
Left Lumberton, moved to Fort Lauderdale for high school.
Okay.
And then came to Tallahassee in 1987 to attend the Florida State University.
The Florida State University. Any Seminoles in the house?
Go Noles.
All right. And decided to go to law school.
Decided to go to law school.
Why?
Because my personal hero is and was Thurgood Marshall. Ever since I was in the 4th grade, I wanted to be a lawyer and be like Thurgood Marshall and try to fight for my people and give my community equal opportunity at the American dream. And so Thurgood Marshall was always my North Star.
Interesting. Okay. Now you, again, are you here in Tallahassee? This is home base for you.
This is home, even though I spent a lot of time in Los Angeles.
But formerly with Parks and Crump.
Yes.
Yes.
My law partner of many years, my brother Daryl Parks. We did many great things together.
You did. You being here in North Florida, again, was with Parks and Crump, notable law firm, not only in Tallahassee, but around the state and around the country. Yeah. For us here in Tallahassee, I think that Martin Lee Anderson case back in 2006 really kind of, put you all on the map, which, was a horrific crime against this 14-year-old boy that was in a boot camp in Bay County. But there have been so many more incidents like this from that time to this. I mean, and you've been involved with so many notable cases since that. What do you think about all of that?
Well, I think Martin Lee Anderson was one of the worst ones. He was Trayvon before there ever was a Trayvon because we didn't have the internet and all the social media.
Right.
But you have to remember, Nicole, they've been killing black people in America for 400 years. It's nothing new. The police did far worse to our grandparents and great-grandparents, but they didn't have video. Black people always said the police was brutalizing us and harassing us and killing us and nobody would believe them. But now we have video, and at least, even if they're not doing much about it, at least they can't deny it's happening because they have ocular proof now with their own eyes.
Yes, they do. Now you have a book out, Open Season.
Yes, ma'am. #1 on Amazon for nonfiction legal.
Okay.
So thank you to your audience and everybody who's bought the book. It's an important book because hopefully it will lead to very important, necessary conversations that we must have in America.
Now tell me a little bit about the name, the Legalized Genocide of Colored People. Why colored people? Why not black people?
Well, because you want to be certain to not say it's just about skin color.
Okay.
And when you say colored people, when you get philosophical about it, people can be colored in many different ways and marginalized and disenfranchised in many ways, which is another word for colored. They can be colored by their life experiences. They can be colored by their sexual preferences and who they choose to love. They can be colored by their financial status. They can be colored by their gender, by their age. I mean, there are many ways they can disenfranchise people and marginalize people based on whatever criteria is. And so what we were saying is, whatever criteria you use, you legalize it. America has a way of intellectually justifying discrimination. And so that's why we used the title of the book, Legalized Genocide of Colored People. It was intentional, and I am unapologetic for the title because I honestly believe they are killing disenfranchised people with the laws themselves.
Agreed. Now, from lawyer to author, is there a great transition there?
Well, it took me 3 years to write this book. I mean, Harper Collins and us, we went back and forth over and over again. But it was meant to be. There, I had a great editor in Tracy Sherrod, assistant, and it's very challenging to get your thoughts on paper to make sure that the reader would be able to comprehend. And so that was always the thing. Harper Collins would tell me, no, we want to hear Ben Crump's voice in this. We don't want this technical stuff. Make it real for us. Make it plain for us. And so, but then when you make it too real or too plain, they say, hey, let's make sure we technical and factual because we don't want to offend nobody. So it's a delicate balance when you write a book. And certainly you're vulnerable when you write a book. But I didn't care because I said, this is what I want to say to the world because it's really not about people who don't get it. I'm trying to make sure our young people get it. And by and large, they have gotten it because the crux of the matter of this book is to make sure our children can overcome the legalized genocide of colored people, which is them and their future. And we want to make sure that they are more intelligent than those who would seek to oppress them.
So let's talk a little bit about why you think the legalized genocide still exists. I mean, we've overcome slavery, we've overcome Jim Crow, we've overcome civil rights, supposedly. We've had a black president. So why are we still battling this in 2020?
Well, Nicole, as I document in the book, America was founded as a slave-owning nation. And really the reason America became as financially prosperous, I mean, becoming one of the most prosperous countries, if not the most prosperous country in the world, was because of slavery and cotton. They became the most prosperous country in the world built on the backs of black people. And even though we fought the Civil War and we won the Civil War, for many people in America, especially the powers that be, they still have not completely divorced themselves from this philosophical belief that the reason America has their financial prominence in the world is partly because this free labor, this slave labor, and they incarcerate so many of us to this day because they still can't divorce themselves from that notion. And the prison industrial complex is a multi-billion-dollar industry. I mean, Walmart, Amazon, everybody's making money off the prison industrial complex. And I think that is the objective that they have. And so the police shootings and everything, any byproducts of that, they will allow it because what they're trying to do is have slavery by any other name. It is just the same. And so until we can have them reimagine incarceration, then they're going to keep doing it because this is a capitalistic society. So that's what I mean when I say our children have to be more intelligent than their oppressors. They got to change that trajectory to say, no, 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 mass incarceration is not the key. Mass education is the key.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Tell me, when you hear the term Black Lives Matters, what do you think?
I am very proud of the sisters and the young people who started Black Lives Matter. I think it was necessary because it seems like, based on what the law tells us, not what anybody articulates, but the outcomes, that our society does not value Black life. Mm-hmm. And so we have to scream it from the mountaintops just so we can try to make them believe their preamble to the Declaration of Independence, that we hold these truths, that all men are created equally, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that amongst them are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Well, America, we know you can quote it. The question is, do you really believe it? Mm-hmm. Do you, because I almost get put in jail a lot when I'm in court, because during jury selection, I ask each juror, do you really believe the Declaration of Independence? Do you really believe a Black person is equal to you? Because in many of these cases, if they don't accept that basic premise, we're done before we start.
Absolutely.
Because the whole cases are about equal rights and equal justice for people of color.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So with that said, what should Black Americans do or be learning in order to protect themselves, protect ourselves against a flawed judicial system?
Well, hopefully they'll read the book and start having conversations about what is discussed in the book, because we really try to expose the legalized genocide of colored people, expose the traps that not just the justice system, but all the institutions of governance has in store for our people and our future in marginalized communities. So they first have to make sure they're more intelligent than those who will seek to oppress them. This war won't be won with guns or bullets or violence. It's going to be won with the mental capacity to overcome whatever traps they have for us. For instance, when a young person is driving down the road, they get pulled over by the police at night. The first thing they should do is, put on the light inside the car, make sure their hands on the steering wheel at 10 and 2. And when he comes, don't take your hands off. He asks you to get the license registration. You articulate to him, okay, I'm going to move my hand from the steering wheel. I'm going to get that, because you got to survive the stop. Mm-hmm. You never challenge the police on the street because you're intelligent. You challenge him in the courtroom where you can beat him, but you will never be able to beat him if you are being carried by 6 people and put in the ground. Mm-hmm. And him telling the world, I felt in fear, because the United States Supreme Court has given police officers the playbook or advice what to say if they kill a person, especially a person of color, and that is to say 3 words: I felt fear, I felt threat. And if they say that there, it's almost as if they get a get out of jail pass for killing a minority.
Which actually brings up another point that I have thought of recently. What's to prevent someone from disguising a hate crime as a defensive stand your ground?
Well, that's normally what it happens. I believe with all stand your ground cases, I believe stand your ground is a racist law, and I'm going on record to say that it was promoted by special interest lobbies of the NRA to literally tell people they can use their product for its intended purpose, and that is to shoot and kill poor people of color and not be held accountable.
Okay. Let's shift gears a bit. Now, you did the Who Killed Tupac documentary.
I'm doing a lot of television these days.
I think you like that.
Well, it's interesting. It's an interesting journey.
Are there any plans to do anything similar to that in the future?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm working with Black Entertainment Television right now on a docuseries with Martin Luther King's family called The Plot to Kill King,
Okay.
which is a 4-part docuseries. I'm the legal, I give the legal perspective from the FBI spying on him and then,
All right.
you know, trying to get dirt on him and so forth.
Well, that's exciting. We look
It's
forward to
very
that.
exciting. I'm very excited. Also, I'm doing a show on Netflix, Homicide or Justified. So that's going to be interesting. We have a movie coming out that I helped produce about Nichelle Nichols, the first African-American woman on primetime television. She played Lieutenant Uhura on Star Trek.
Yes.
And the film is called Woman in Motion.
Okay.
And it is an incredible documentary.
Okay, good. I love documentaries, so I can't wait to see that one either.
It-
All right.
This is like a movie. It's not really like a documentary. It's really
But it does
good.
tell her story.
Oh, it tells her story. She's in it. So many people, everybody's in it, talking about her from the Star Trek crew and Captain Kirk and all of them up to President Barack Obama.
Okay, excellent. Now tell me, what's the most challenging thing about what you do?
Not getting enough rest and not being able to spend enough time with my family.
Mm-hmm. And family, wife.
My
and-
wife and my daughter, our 7-year-old daughter, Brooklyn.
Okay.
So Dr. Janae Crump and Brooklyn, I owe a special debt of gratitude for letting their father and husband be out here gallivanting across the country fighting for the least of these, as my grandmother say.
Absolutely, we appreciate their sacrifice. How does the weight of your cases affect you after work?
Well, obviously, these cases can take an emotional toll. And when you think about where we're at in America today with the enemies of equality having control of the White House, the Supreme Court, the U.S. Senate, most of the governor mansions, most of the state houses, you say, Jesus Christ, you know, how can we win? They got all the cards. But then I look at Brooklyn. I look at my little nieces and nephews, the younger people, you look in their eyes and you are reminded they're worth the fight. They're worth the fight because if you stop fighting, then you give up on the future. Mm-hmm. And we can never give up on the future for them. And the fact that based on our history, we are a people who have overcome far worse. We overcame slavery. We overcame Reconstruction. We overcame Jim Crow. We overcame the Middle Passage. We are going to be the most resilient people ever created on earth. Mm-hmm. And so that's what gives me hope, and that's how I deal with it. I know my personal hero, Thurgood Marshall and Constant Baker Motley and Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, they had it far worse than we have it, but yet they were able to be successful in their endeavors. So I remember that then and say, you know, we're in many ways better equipped than them because we have so much more than they had, and we have their history lessons to learn from.
Well, you stand on the shoulders of giants, and I know that they are very proud of you.
Well, thank you, Nicole.
My pleasure.
We are fighting for our children.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Well, I want to thank you for taking a few moments to talk with me today.
Yes, ma'am. Conversations with Nicole.
That's right. And tell everybody where they can get that book, Open Season.
Open Season in any bookstore, on any computers outlet like Amazon, Barnes & Noble online, Books A Million online. You can go to our website, Ben Crump Open Season. And I'm just thankful because people are buying the book. People are genuinely engaged. And that's something that you don't know if it will happen, but you knew it was the best you had to offer the world. You put it out there, and I'm very grateful that people have received it positively.
I want to thank you again for being my guest today, Ben.
Are you very welcome?
And thank you all for tuning in with Conversations with Nicole, where we're connecting the community through conversation.
Conversations with Nicole.